2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. I was testing stuff for YouTube. Yep, I think I'm gonna go live here in a few minutes. I don't know. You know that I am severely doubtful. You gotta talk to my husband.
That's exactly what I said.
Alright, I'm gonna go get at it.
Hello, hello, can you hear me? Let me know in the chat if you can hear everything. I did some testing before this, but this is my first time streaming, so I have no idea. Hey, Magus. Awesome, audio is great. So it looks like it might just be me and you for now. We'll give it a few minutes. Maybe some people will trickle in. If not, that's okay. How's the new load order coming along? Yeah, I know that. I used to be addicted to like changing load orders all the time and trying to get the latest greatest stuff all the time, and it is really, really tempting. But I've been on the same load order for like 2.5 years now. It's hard to miss out on all the new stuff. There's some really great stuff, but it's also nice to just be able to launch Skyrim and play whenever you want, you know? Yeah, the Simon's mods, I've heard people talking about that. I haven't tried them out yet. I, I'm just enjoying my stable play load order right now, so... Hey, the wind! There she is. Are you having issues with any like patches or anything so far with Simon's mods? I know Anais has been out for a long time. I haven't heard much about Simon's stuff. So I'm wondering if patch support is an issue at this point. Yeah, definitely. Not gonna breathe on it. Gonna enjoy the hell out of it. Hey, there's Simpa. I know it's probably late over there in Sweden. But it's good to see you. Yeah, that's one thing about Anai is he needs a lot of patching because he's fairly heavy-handed with big changes, which is also why I like it. A lot of his stuff anyway. At least it wasn't as bad as Skyrim Redone anyway. His stuff is a lot more compatible. Alright, so we have a few people here. I think we can probably get started at this point. Alright, so in the various Discords and stuff that are more Skyrim-centric, I do tend to see a lot of questions about people, you know, I don't know where to start. I want to play Skyrim. I want a new character. But they're asking like, you know, they're asking for, you know, suggestions on build types, story, roleplay tips and stuff like that. And usually when I'm stumped like that, I like to use Skyrim Unbound and just go random and then just look for roleplay opportunities. The settings that Skyrim Unbound will set for you often give you a lot of clues on how you should take the character, and it's a really good way to break out of your sort of routine in Skyrim. A lot of people like to put themselves in the game, and then you end up, in my experience anyway, kind of just going through the same old quest lines in the same old way, skipping through dialogue, not really appreciating the world and things like that. So this is what I do from time to time to break out of that slump. Hey Hester, Will, how you doing? Good to see you here. Good crowd for my maiden streaming voyage here. I like it. So yeah, as some of you have noticed, this is Skyrim Unbound. Let's go ahead and... Oh, I was on this title screen for so long that my controller shut itself off. Okay, there we go. We're back in business. Alright, so let's go ahead and just do a random start. This is going to set all kinds of things, starting location, starting time, equipment and magic loadouts, dragonborn status, whether or not you can absorb souls, whether or not there are even dragon spawns in the world, and whether or not you can read word walls. Okay, so there are some things that Skyrim Unbound will not randomize, and sorry, I know a lot of you know this mod like the back of your hands, but some people may not. So there are some things that it doesn't randomize, and race is one of them. So what I like to do, for all of you turbo nerds out there who might have, roleplay dice that you can roll, you can do those. I am a different kind of turbo nerd in that I am a computer nerd. So I use the Google random number generator. Now, since there are 10 races, I set this from min 1 to max 10, and I hit the generate button, and we got a 7. So that will correspond with our ordered list of 10 Skyrim races here. So Altmer starts at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we're playing a Khajiit. I don't know that I've ever actually played a Khajiit before. Let's just read the description, that might help. The cat people of elsewhere differ greatly from the human and Merithic races. Their religion is based on 2 moons, which symbolize the 2 disparate tribes that make up early Khajiit society and influence their physical form, ranging from almost human-like to that of an intelligent house cat. Intelligent House Cat is the name of my indie band, by the way. The Khajiit are led by a singular white cat, the Mane. Interesting. Alright, so this leads us to the next thing that the Skyrim Unbound mod does not randomize, and that is the character appearance. So for this, I'm going to keep the random number generator set from 1 to 10. I'm just going to pick a random preset here. Based on what the character looks like, that may give us some clues or direction onto clues about backstory, motivation, personality, things like that. So we are going to use preset 2. Oh, did I say something doubtful there, Wind? Did I make an unknown euphemism of some sort? Okay, so I'm not going to do too much customization on this screen just because the way I have like my lighting mods and stuff is set up, we can't really get a good look at the character's face right here just yet. So I'm going to probably just start it here, and then once I get out of this starting screen, we can turn on face light, get some better lighting, and take a good look at them and customize things as we need to. So we're going to go ahead and go done. What should we name this guy? I'm not good with Khajiit names. Any suggestions in the chat there? Oh, Maiden Voyage. We can change this at any time, so once I do a little bit more research on Khajiit and what makes them tick, I do know some stuff. I just don't gravitate toward it personally. Alright, for Moonpuss. We can do a name generator. That's a little more accessible or acceptable than what I was about to put there, I guess. Okay, we have 1 vote for Moonpuss, which is the name of my other indie band. Joshua? Jagasta. I kind of like that one. It's got some flair to it. Let's do that. How about Jagasta the Moonpuss? Best of both worlds. Oh, my keyboard went all wacky on me here. Okay. Technical difficulties. Bear with me here. Ah, okay. Okay, so I've lost my controller. This did not happen in testing, I promise. Here we go. Okay. Can you hear me now? How's that sound? Back in business, I hope. Okay, great. Yeah, so I have my setup pretty much configured to work best with recording and editing video, so I set my shift key to turn on and off the audio or the microphone, so I could get to it quickly if I had to. Which means every time I try to type in a capital letter, I am going to lose microphone audio. I'll mess with that a little later. So yeah, randomly chosen deity that we're going to worship is Akatosh. And I really don't know the relationship between Akatosh and the Khajiit. If anybody in the chat knows off the top of their head, please cue me in. I do know that Akatosh is kind of the chief deity of the Imperial Pantheon, also known as Ariel in the Merrick Pantheon. So he's kind of a common figure amongst all the major religions. But as he or she relates to the Khajiit, I just don't know. So that should be an interesting combination, I would say. But we randomly chose Akatosh, so let's do that. Akatosh is the dragon god of time. As father of dragons, he represents beginning and end. A worshipper has improved attacks and spells against dragons, and the tenets are to fulfill your destiny by saving Tamriel, raise your character level, absorb dragon souls, and never openly break the laws of Skyrim. Okay, so this might be kind of tough, because we may or may not be dragonborn, and if we end up not being dragonborn, that's going to limit our progression as a worshipper to Akatosh, at least according to these tenets. Maga says, I believe Alkosh for the Khajiit. Spelling is probably wrong on my end. Yeah, so the different counterparts. Yeah, so the different counterparts are usually accounted for by Winter Sun. In this case, it looks like maybe he's not, but that's okay. We can deal. So let's go ahead and accept Akatosh. And as I was saying before, I think I got silenced. It looks like I have a hostile start. So they're just throwing me right into the fire immediately here, aren't they? So it looks like we got ambushed at a camp. Let's see if we can't get clear of this here. Alright. So that was rough. So the first thing I do in every single new playthrough is set my time scale. Ooh, Haster has something to say. The Khajiit call him Alkosh. They believe he's the Great Cat. They also believe that he repelled the first divine crusader, Pelennor Whitestrake, from their land. Awesome. Okay, that could give us some roleplay or story fuel, I think. We'll have to meditate on that a bit. So yeah, like I was saying, set time scale to 8. I really like to slow down the vanilla time scale quite a bit. I just really don't like the feeling of, you know, spending 30 minutes in a dungeon and you come out of it and it's the next day already. I really think vanilla time scale is way too fast. Slowing it down a little bit makes it feel a little more realistic. It doesn't go too slow that it's like real time, and you're not, you know, waiting 4 hours at a time just to pass to the next day. But I do find myself, you know, after clearing a dungeon or something, going back to an inn, sitting down, eating dinner, and, you know, just waiting for a couple hours while my food digests before I sleep and get started with the next day. So that's the first thing I do. Oops. I forgot the 2. And the next thing I do is go through my MCM menus and set everything up. But for right now, I want to take a look at what Unbound gave us in terms of loadout, starting equipment, and things like that. So let's look at the inventory. We have one Forsworn arrow in our inventory. We probably just pulled that out of our cranium. So I am not going to use that at all. It set us up with some fur armor. No other weapons, which is really interesting. We do have some potions, which we may have to make use of pretty quickly here. Along with health and stamina, which are useful for just about every character, it also gave us some magicka potions, which we can take as a hint that this Khajiit has some kind of magical ability or talent latent or otherwise. So we can put that in our bag of hints as far as motivation, ongoing story, roleplay, things like that go. We have a few Horker loaves, a vegetable soup, and some red wine. And some lockpicks. Nothing really to fight with at all. This is what I would say, this is what I would call a tough start. I remember, was it Character Crusade Unbound Season 1? A lot of people posted horror story starts that Unbound threw them into. I think this would qualify as one of them. Now this is the items that we have in our physical inventory. Let's take a look at magic here. We do have a Conjure Familiar, which is interesting. Khajiit are usually not known as magic users. They usually, I think, conventionally, lore-wise, they are a bit distrustful of magic. Ooh, and a Lesser Ward. Nice. But I can see one of them being a bit of like a shamanistic. Yes, House Store, I am running Imperious. Plus 10 unarmed damage, yep. So that's another way we can take this Unbound start as a hint, is that this will be an unarmed fighter, which I like. I haven't actually explored unarmed fighting in Ordinator, which I'm also running. So that's definitely something. Strudel says, massive Forsworn outpost with absolutely nothing other than an empty water skin. Yeah, that's it. That's definitely worse than what we got going here. We have a Lesser Ward as a blocking mechanism for... in skivvies, yeah, for sure. Which is a blocking mechanism for incoming offensive spells, which is actually great. It gives us a way to deal with magic users, which a lot of starting characters have a lot of trouble with. So it looks like we have some talent with Conjuration and Restoration, which does kind of lead me toward this shamanistic or monk type that I was thinking of. So I think we can go forward with that. This is actually really cool for me because I don't have a lot of experience with this playstyle, and I am playing on Legendary, which is what I've been playing on for a while. I do balance that out a little bit with a couple of things, namely TK Dodge, which gives you a huge advantage over Vanilla in that you have some invincibility frames and ways of getting around enemy attacks that you wouldn't normally. I am also running Death Alternative, so if I do manage to die, when I do manage to die, I'm not going to really be dead. It's going to put me in another scenario that I can recover from and continue playing. Balefish, hey, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. Yeah, I figured since you weren't streaming and Magus is still putting together his load order, and we're in the quiet before the storm, so to speak, of Stu's next project, I could pick up the slack a little bit and create a place where people could hang out a little bit. Yeah, so that gets us started, and now I think, you know what, alright, you know what, bear with me for a minute. I can't go any farther without setting up my mods. So this is going to take some time. It's not gameplay, but I can talk you through some of my settings here, and maybe you can learn something about some of these mods that I'm using. Maybe you can find something that you want to use or incorporate it into your own game, or something that you never noticed before. Okay, so first thing is a closer look, because it's first on the alphabetical list here. I do like a closer look. It's very immersive. It helps you kind of squint and zoom in a little bit. So I am going to set that hotkey up to L for look. And I am also playing on controller, which is kind of an unpopular choice, but I like the complete control that an analog stick gives me over everything, and the smooth movement, and it kind of helps me connect with the game better from my console beginnings. Okay, so I'm also running Gamepad++, which greatly expands control pad usability in this game. It really helps out with having accessible hotkeys and stuff right from your controller, so I don't have to keep switching over the keyboard every time I want to do something. I enable my extended controls, which gives me access to repeated button presses to access hotkeys that I set in the favorites menu. So a closer look, I like to set to holding up on the D-pad. So I just have to go to that proper setting in the MCM, set it to the hotkey that I set before, and I'll just label it a closer look. We lost the voice again. I don't even remember hitting the shift key that time. Are we back? Sorry about that. So anyway, now, yeah, we have, I can hold onto the up directional pad, or up directional button on my gamepad, and we can sort of squint to look in. Yeah, I'm going to have to just remember to put everything in lowercase if I'm going to type anything. Which is going to be an issue until I can get in and change the hotkey for that. Okay, so we got our squinty buttons set up. Let's continue, shall we? Animated Armory is good as is. Apocalypse Spells is great as is. Artful Dodger is good out of the box. Bounty Gold. Khajiit does like the shiny clinky, so vanilla bounty rewards are just awfully stingy. You clear out an entire camp of bandits and they give you 100 gold. Come on. So this mod actually allows you to set the bounty rewards for everything. I like to set the human encampments that you clear out to 500. And then the dragons and giants as 1,000, because those are very specialized jobs. Very few people in Skyrim, or really even in Tamriel, should be able to handle giants and dragons. It would be a very specialized skill, and I think that the Jarls would pay top septum to have those creatures cleared out. And this mod also gives you a tool to be able to scale with your level too. So as you get higher up, and 1,000 gold just doesn't go as far as it used to, now we'll get an extra 10 gold per level as we get higher up. Another great mod that I like. Campfire, may or may not be using it, but I find that for the most part the vanilla setting, or the default settings are fine. Caranthir Tower, I did add that. I don't know if we'll use it. But again, default is fine. Same with CACO. Death Alternative. We're going to get that started. I probably should have done that right away because we almost died in the opening seconds of this playthrough here. Player settings. We just have to activate this, and then once that's going, default settings are usually pretty good for me. Death Alternative is great if you're playing on Legendary. It helps handle death in a more immersive and forgiving way. So you don't just, save scam. So that's all set up. Dual Sheath Redux is fine. Dynamic Things. Okay, so this is another... Okay, we lost our MCM menu, which I think it was Death Alternative wanted me to exit out. Yeah, DA ready. Okay. Back into it. Try to fly through these pretty quick. Dynamic Things is a great mod. It's another immersion mod. One that was recommended to me by our beloved Grace Guy at the Character Crusade Discord. And it enables a lot of things, actually. Dynamic safe containers, wood piles, barrels, so you can loot things like crates and barrels. And wood piles, so you don't have to chop wood all the time. Another one of my favorite things that it does is it enables training dummies so that you can shoot them with bows and arrows or destruction spells, or just wail on them with a melee weapon to increase your level in those skills. Very immersive. You would think that any budding warrior would spend a lot of time on the training dummy before he goes out and actually tries to fight anything alive. So another highly recommended mod here. It does overreach a little bit, in my opinion. It allows you to harvest things like loose trees and bushes out in the wilderness. That ends up being very script heavy and unneeded for me, so I end up turning all of this stuff off. I don't need any of it. There is some really immersive stuff here, but it's more than I ever use, and being able to collide and interact with, just random brush in the wilderness can be kind of annoying. Training speed. Okay, we're all good there. Dynalod for the visuals, for the aesthetic. Face light, here we go. Player face light will go on for now, just so I can take a look at the moon pusses punum. Face light hotkey, that's fine how it is. Actually, let's change that to F. Just because I think that hotkey is set to something else, and I don't want to do... I don't want to have too many hotkey conflicts here. What else do we have here? Edit mode, I don't really care about. Conversation face light. With all the lighting mods and stuff that I have, it makes it really hard to see faces, and it becomes really unimmersive. I like to see faces while I'm talking to people. Go figure, right? Alright, I think that sets up face light how I like it. Gamepad++, we're going to do a lot of setup on that, but we got to get other stuff set up first. Honed metal, good default. Same with immersive armors, immersive encounters. Another great mod, but good as default. Immersive HUD, here we go. I have found it completely, extremely useful to have access to the compass at the press of a button, especially without having to move my hands from the controller to the keyboard. So I'm going to change this to C for compass. I'm going to switch that to toggle because it works better for me not to have to hold down the button to keep the HUD up. So we are going to remember C for compass, and my controller is activated again. Just make sure I'm not missing anything else. On iHUD, I think I like the default for everything else. Sorry folks, we're about halfway through. This is the most boring part of every playthrough, is the very beginning where you have to set up your MCM. I didn't want to cut past all this because I wanted everybody to see the Unbound random start. so we could work through it together. So for the compass, I like a single press on the directional pad up button. And I'll be very careful not to hit the shift key this time. So we set that to C. Description compass, all lowercase. Magus makes everybody sit through all his all the time too. Yeah, that's fair. That makes me feel a little better. And you can still hear me, right? I didn't accidentally hit a shift key. Okay, so now this all I have to do is tap on the up button, and I get the compass, and actually the full HUD, not just the compass, but the compass tends to be the most useful thing. And I can hold on the up button to go all squinty. Great. Let's continue, shall we? Oh, you know what? Before I go any farther, Unbound does not create a save right away. So, always remember to save as soon as you start. Ooh, I love that True Storm sound. It's great. I'm running Obsidian Weathers with the True Storms patch. Okay, where did we end up here? iHUD, Immersive Wenches, Imperious Racials. I need, it's set up pretty well default. Sometimes I'll use I need to set my time scale, but I find it's just easier to plop into the console and set it manually. You don't have to go through all the dialogues and everything. Jackson's Renamer I do make use of. Before I rename anything, I will make sure to set up my hotkeys for the mic toggle because I'm not going to be able to deal with having everything lowercase on that. Jackson's Renamer I do make use of. It enables... It's an immersion mod for me. It gives meaning to any random item that you may have in your inventory or any other random item or person or animal or thing in the world. Anybody who watched my Druid Archer playthrough knows that he had a cave bear that he tamed, and I renamed him Bjorn, and instantly he became a beloved companion instead of just being a random cave bear. I've also done things like rename just, standard weapons, standard vanilla weapons, and that instantly goes from, being a steel sword to being a named weapon that carries a lot of weight and sentiment for the character that wields it. So now that I am done rambling on about Jackson's Renamer and how something so simple can carry so much meaning and be so powerful, let's go ahead and set that to R. And I don't use the keyboard for playing the game, so R usually will wield a weapon, but I don't care about that because I use the X button on my Xbox One controller. That obnoxious bear always getting in the way. I know, that guy was huge. I made a lot of use of the toggle collision console command in that playthrough, but I couldn't not have him. He meant too much to that character. That's actually a huge problem with any follower, so you can't blame the enormous bear, but his size did make him a little more cumbersome than most followers or summons. And I don't need a controller hotkey for renaming. I can leave that on the keyboard since I don't use it all that often. Okay, so back at it. Jackson's Rename. Lock Overhaul. This is a great mod. It kind of allows you to make mods, or make locks of certain levels inaccessible, completely inaccessible if you don't have a certain skill. Oh, you're asking about Alcunil and the chemical whispers? Yeah, I'll get to that a little bit. Will. I'll get through the settings and then I'll mention him a little bit. He's on a bit of a hiatus right now. The sheer amount of work that goes into creating those episodes and all the editing and gathering footage with all the crazy camera angles and stuff it's really susceptible to burnout. And being burnt out in a game that you love playing is hard. It's hard to deal with because you want to play the game, but you don't want it to feel like work. Anyway, yeah. So the lock overhaul, it kind of makes it similar to Fallout 4, which I generally like its lockpicking system a little better. It makes it so that, say, if you're trying to open an apprentice level chest or lock, but you're only at like skill 15, you just cannot unlock it at all. It kind of gives a little more weight to the lockpicking perks, which I like. I do tend to like mods that give a little more of a meaning to the perks that were otherwise meaningless in vanilla or without the mod. But this mod is not compatible completely with Ordinator, so we might go a lockpicking route with our Moonpuss here. Oh, it's okay, Haster, don't worry about it. So I'm going to leave this unenabled. Disabled, I guess. Look what you see. This is one of my favorite little mods here. It's not widely known. A lot of people use the lightweight head tracking mod and emotions, which is great if you want your character to take on a life of its own. But if you want your character to do what you want, this is a little bit better. The head tracking will be mapped to the camera movements instead of kind of just doing their own thing, twisting and contorting their neck and their bodies in weird ways, and the goofy huge grins and goofy cartoonish growls and stuff that they have on their face when they see something they don't like or they do like. Don't get me wrong, I love that mod and it's vastly entertaining, but this one just gives you a little more control over where your character's looking and what they're doing. So now that we have that set up, let's head back out here and let's see if we can just get that set up right. So yeah, you can set it up to where he will follow the camera movements, regardless of where the camera is facing. I like to set it up into hybrid mode so that if you are pointing the camera at the character's face, he will kind of look at you. I don't know how immersive this is, but it kind of helps me, I don't know, feel a little bit closer to my character, more like a real dude. So he's looking at us here, but then if we switch to a behind the back view, he will point his head where we're pointing. This is great for like if you're setting up screenshots or other videos and stuff where you want your character to look at a certain thing. And I don't really know how compatible this is with the lightweight head tracking mod, but I would imagine you could disable that one and enable this one and get the both of best worlds, just toggling them as needed. I know Strudel, you do a lot of screen archery for your story. Something to look into, I suppose. This does require MCM and SKSE too, so I don't know if you've made that jump yet, but something to keep in mind at least. Okay, so quick save real quick there. Oh, the other thing that's great about Gamepad++ is that it allows me to quick save right from the controller. I don't have to reach up and hit F5 every single time, which is huge. Yeah, I could imagine. You have a lot of characters. I'm always so impressed at your huge Last Dinner type portraits where you are trying to herd all those gerbils all at once for a picture, or a big family picture. I don't know if it's easier or harder to take an actual family picture. Okay, quick save done. Let's move on. Where were we? We're at look what you see. Okay, Minty's Lightning. I like the default settings there. Minty's Lightning is awesome. Ordinator perks, good default. Depends on the family, yeah, for sure. Depends on the side of the family too, I'm sure. My side of the family will not sit still for a family picture. My wife's side probably a little easier. Predator vision. Yeah, you know what? Let's set this up. Khajiit has night vision. I'm going to set this up to be compatible with my ENB. Oh, dumb faces in pictures is my specialty. Ask anybody that knows me. I don't think I have a single picture that accurately represents what I actually look like. The problem is the person taking the picture always says in like an irritated voice, look normal, and that makes me look, if you're trying to look normal, you're going to look very abnormal. Okay, and I have my ENB set up to the Z key on the keyboard. So if I set that to match the night vision activation key in Predator Vision, that gives you a night vision solution that works with an ENB, because it will disable your ENB, enable night vision. Otherwise, the ENB will completely override whatever your night vision is trying to do. Yeah, there is no normal. That's the secret. Just like there is no spoon, there is no normal. So yeah, I was actually really excited when I came across this solution, because the ENB is a reshader and night vision uses the inbox shader for the Skyrim engine to do its thing. So this is actually a great solution. The effect can be a little bit jarring because when you hit the hotkey to disable the ENB, it just shuts it off instantly, and it takes a second or two for night vision to kick in. But as you can see, it works pretty well. Super bright. Not so great right now in game, because the darkness settings right now are pretty good. What ENB? I am using NVT, which stands for Natural View Tamriel. Yeah, this is a heavy-handed approach, Magus. This will work for every ENB. Some ENBs might have settings that work with night vision. I have not. I've been using NVT for a long time. And this is an older version of it, so maybe newer versions have a night vision fix that goes along with it. But as I said earlier, I'm running on a very old load order because I enjoy playing more than I enjoy modding these days. So I've kept this thing very stable. But yeah, so this I was very excited about, because with the lighting mods, relighting Skyrim, ELE, and the ENB, certain ritual, nice. We'll get to that. Dungeons and interiors and even exteriors at Dusk and Dawn can be very, very dark and just completely unusable for things like recorded YouTube footage, or even, I guess, live streaming now. So back to it. What was that? Are you talking about the ritual thing, Strudel? That is a standing stone. That was one of the things that Unbound set up for us, and we will get there momentarily. Pumping Iron, I actually love. It's one of my favorite immersive mods. Some of you might be familiar with it. it allows your character to get more swole as he levels up in his combat skills and gets rest and eats. It's a very it's a subtle effect because it happens very slowly. Haster, yes, I did use the Tuco guide. This was back when the Tuco guide was in its prime. I don't know that it's supported anymore. What was the guy's name who did that? Ponimura, I think? He's been MIA for a while. I think he had some personal stuff come up, and I haven't seen him back on his Discord anyway in a while. Yes, I do use Andromeda for the Standing Stones, and I don't know how current it is. Yes, Gopher's mods, although they are few and far between, they're always infinitely useful, in my opinion. Run for your lives. I don't run Immersive AI, so I need Run for your lives. Immersive AI does some funky things, at least in the state that it was when I tried it out. Sacrosanct, Second Great War. Might get into that. There are some difficulty settings there for sure that need to be tweaked because that mod can be very tedious when you get into it. Sky UI. Okay, there's a quick fix that I need to do. Sky UI is not completely compatible with Gamepad++. The way that incompatibility manifests is in the favorite menu. It doesn't really cause any issues except that you get the little... And before I actually fix this, I'm going to show you. Yeah, you get a Sky UI error code. Which is annoying until you realize that you can easily fix it in the MCM. All you have to do is just disable checking for the favorites menu. Easily enough done. And if you're getting the error in the map menu, which is also super common, you can disable that check here. I haven't actually encountered anything that actually causes a problem with these incompatibilities, so I haven't really encountered anything that can't be fixed just by disabling the checking on it. So I think that's all I need to do in Sky UI. Skyrim Unbound, I don't want to look at any of the settings there because I don't want to ruin the surprises as far as Dragonborn status, dragon spawns, things like that. Spell research. I think spell research is a great mod. It's very immersive. It allows you to learn spells based on doing research on existing spells and enchanted items that you find out in the world. It's awesome, really awesome for the scholarly wizard type character. But I think we decided with Jagasta's magical talent and abilities that this is going to be more of a shamanistic approach. And I might have been muted when I decided on that. So sorry if this is the first time you're hearing about it. But spell research, aside from maybe studying imbued body parts, which is a thing in this mod, may not be so useful. You know what? Yeah, now that I think about it, this might be a more organic way of learning spells. Oh, I just decided this. Yeah, I'm just making shit up as I go. Aren't we all? Okay. So this does take some setup. Default settings are actually pretty good. But it does take some time to import all the different spells and effects from the different DLCs and the different mods that we have installed. So we have some notifications up. It's importing vanilla spells. It's going to be doing this for a bit. So this will give me a second to actually describe what spell research is going to do for in general and for this character in particular. So as I said, there are enchanted and imbued items that you'll find in chests, leveled loot, basically. Among those are things like imbued deer skulls, imbued human bones, things like that, which I think jive pretty well with a shamanistic approach to magic and learning new spells. It really doesn't make sense for a shaman type or druidic type spellcaster to go to a court wizard and buy a spell tome to learn new spells. So I think this will be a great alternative, more immersive way to do that. Karen Thier Tower Reborn, yes. What's nice about this approach, I mean, it is a bit of a pain because it takes a few minutes to set up. But what is nice about this is you don't really have to worry about compatibility patches too much. It knows what mods to look for, and it will go through and just scan all the different magical effects that those mods add to the game and add it to its own lists. So the way that this will work is we'll come across those imbued items that I was talking about, and then once we get to a safe place, we can study or inspect those items, and we can glean magical knowledge from that. As we accumulate magical knowledge, we can use that specific knowledge to attempt to create new spells. And I think that would be a great way for the Moon Puss here to learn more magical abilities. And it looks like we're all done. See, that wasn't too long. Alright. Spell research is done. Summer Miss Enchants, I like it the way it is. Throwing weapons may or may not go there. The way I have it set up and the way that it's set up as default is that it's crafting only. The throwing weapons do not show up in leveled list and do not show up on enemies. So you don't have to worry about things like them chucking grenades at you. It also keeps it lighter in terms of scripting, I think, since the enemies don't have to know how to do that stuff. TK Dodge is an absolute requisite for any character that I play. I set that up as a dodge key. My left shoulder button dodges. This is important. Short pressing, by default, the short press of the dodge key will roll forward. I don't like that. I like to require a directional input when I input the dodge key in order to get that roll. I suspect some of these settings might be some of the trouble that Stu was seeing on his... oh, never mind. I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Sorry. The double tap might cause you some issue, so I always disable that, and I disable the forward tap of the forward as well. If you're having trouble disabling everything except for the dodge key, all the double taps and everything, that might have a profound improvement, a profound effect for the better on, you know, getting random rolls and stuff like that. Unread books glow. Thanks, Magus. I'm trying. I like to be educational and entertaining. I like unread books glow, but in terms of immersion, it's really, it can be overbearing. When every book that you haven't read is glowing really brightly, it just gets to be a bit of a light show and kind of terrible looking. So what I like to do is set everything, all the dim setting or all the glow settings to dim. Makes it look a little more subtle. Sometimes I might set that up to bright, but then I make sure that only we're going to take off spell books here because our shaman / monk style character is not going to learn from books. We're going to leave skill books on, quest books on, and we're going to turn plain books off. That just ups the immersion. It's a nice balance between, hey, here's an important book, and having the unimmersive visuals of firework books all over the place. Wearable lanterns. The default setup on this is fine. I might switch the position of the lantern from the back to the front or back to the back, depending on what kind of equipment we're going to have equipped on our Punchy Cat here. Wildcat, another requisite mod that I have for all of my characters, which I'll talk about in a second. But right out of the box, I kind of like Wildcat. I may have to tweak it a bit just because I haven't used an unarmed character with Ordinator. I don't really know how that jives with Wildcat, but in the Wildcat MCM, and if you're not running SKSE, you can hit a lot of these settings through the regular in-game dialogues that the non-SKSE version provides. You can tweak a lot of stuff as far as, just about everything. Staggering, backstabs for, player characters and NPCs. And here's another really important one, is you can tweak the damage modifiers for each of the difficulty levels. That's also really nice, especially if you're like having trouble. Not all play types are created equally. So say like a sneaky archer type character is going to tear through everything on legendary once he gets a couple of perks. A two-handed melee type character is going to have a lot of damage output, but his attacks are going to be very, very slow, so positioning and taking full advantage of picking your shots, especially through positional damage and stuff, getting the backstabs and everything, and stamina management is going to be extremely important. All of that might make it too difficult to run in a certain playstyle, but you can come in here and just tweak everything to your heart's content, which I may need to do. The injury threshold on a lot of this stuff also plays an important part on overall difficulty. But I think for now I'm just going to keep it default. Unarmed and Ordinator is immensely fun. It looks like a lot of fun. I've been through the perks, I just haven't actually used them. And then Couch Warrior Shadeling stuff. Before he went super magic-y, when he was using sneak with ghost walk and unarmed sneak attacks and stuff a lot, that was super duper cool. So I am really looking forward to trying some of this stuff out. And it looks like the last one we have is Winter Sun Fates, which I'm going to keep as default. So that's it, I think, for the MCM. I'm going to do a quick save here to make sure that we have all those settings. And I'm also running some older mods here that were not meant to run with SKSE. Visitable favorited gear, since we're doing an unarmed playthrough here, more than likely we probably don't need this, but I'm going to turn it on anyway just in case. I actually have been toying with the idea for a long time of a Khajiit monk style character that uses pickpocket to steal enemies' weapons and kills them with their own weapons. And he never has his own weapon. He can rely on unarmed as his basic offensive attack. But, you know, once we level up a little bit and we can pickpocket equipped weapons, I think that'll be really fun, kind of a unique novel play style. Khajiit like to sneak, yes, for sure. So maybe we'll go that route. Yeah, now I'm getting more and more excited about this. Okay, so what haven't we talked about? The ritual stone. Yes, so we saw the ritual notification pop up. Did that actually give us... It said the ritual listens. Did that plop a dead body or anything down? Alright, I'm not sure, so let's look at this. Okay, so we have 2 passive effects here for the ritual stone. This was given to us randomly by our unbound start. So the description here is approach a violently slain corpse to gather its memories, summoning it as a vengeful spirit in your next battle. Yeah, Couch Warrior used this. Yeah, Strudel, you're right. So Couch Warrior used this stone. I don't know if he used it permanently for his Ashaba Redguard character from Unbound. Yes, that is correct. I think he didn't like the effect so much. It is a very novel... Yeah, it is a very novel effect. It might be hard to fit into a playstyle. Yes, Raiden, yeah. That was a really cool character concept. I would have liked to have seen like where he would have gone with that character had he stuck with him longer. But yeah, you know Stu. I feel like he gets a bad case of the restartitis quite often. He has been getting better about it recently. He's been providing some satisfying endings to a lot of his characters lately, but yeah, especially with the Unbound stuff. Once he gets a story in his head, it's hard for him not to follow that. This also gives us another passive effect called Mara's Tears. Periodically relive the death of an ally or enemy whose memories you gathered before creating a corpse. Now, before we had the notification up in the top left that said the ritual listens, and it had a little sound effect. I wonder if it was dropping a corpse for us. It's hard to see right now, but I am running campfire, so I do have access to the instincts power. So if there's anything dead around us, we can find it. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Excuse me. Interesting. Alright, so another thing that Unbound does is it randomly selects time and place, and I think we've been through just about everything except for time and place. Cannot wait while enemies are nearby. Okay, so it dropped us off out here in the Reach, out in the mountains, so we were probably fleeing Forsworn. In fact, I know we were because we found a Forsworn. Okay, it said the ritual remembers. So that just might be the way that it pulls for, you know, dead bodies that it has remembered or whatever. Okay, so yeah, it dropped us off here in the Reach. We know that it was a Forsworn encampment that it dropped us off in because we found a Forsworn arrow embedded in our face. So that gives us some things to think about here. So we have a Khajiit monk who is camping on his own in the Reach. When he was waylaid by Forsworn. So what I'm thinking here is that he is a magic user. And he has kind of a shamanistic approach to magic. So what I'm thinking is he maybe saw some of these Forsworn totem type things. You know how they kind of set up their skulls and stuff in those funky little totems or idols that they set up. He might have been drawn to this place by some of those that he saw. And darkness fell, and the rain started falling, so he decided to set up camp as he was studying these little totems, trying to glean some kind of magical or spiritual meaning from them. And while he was setting up camp, the Forsworn hunting or raiding party returned and caught him napping a little bit and shot him in the head with an arrow. So that kind of, I think, is a good start. Hastur says maybe the Forsworn tried to recruit him because they can feel his powers. That could be, but why would they turn hostile on him all of a sudden? Is my thought on that. Unless he wasn't feeling it or something. That could be. I don't know. This is the making shit up phase of a roleplay / story setup. Backstory setup. So that takes care of the here and now. It's like, what was he doing in this exact place at this exact time? But why is he in Skyrim? Why is he in the Reach? We do have an inn. We have Rorikstead, and we also have this little inn over here as well. With the Tiber Septim Inn? No, the Tiber Septim's in Bruma. Isn't it? But this is where you find that that ghost that sends you to go pick his to go pick up that old Hroldan. That's right. Thank you, guys. So he could have been staying there. He could be on a bit of a I don't know, a bit of a vision quest, sort of exploring his spiritual side a little bit more. Looking for some sort of an insight into his own spirituality and the spirituality of the world, the secrets that Nirn holds in the province of Skyrim. Skyrim is quite removed from elsewhere by a couple of provinces. Hjalti Swordbrother, yeah. So yeah, I got a bit of thinking to do on where this story is at least coming from. In the short term, though, we can try to escape. Old Hroldan, I think, is right here, or maybe closer down here. We can try to just find ourselves... Yeah, I think we can just try to find our way to safety for the time being. So let's remove that. We need to point right and a bit behind us. The Reach, considering they believe in old magics, makes sense. He might seek out that knowledge, only to be met by Forsworn. Yeah, I kind of like that. So I do have a little bit of research and thinking to do on this, and I will think as I play. Maybe we can come up with something real good here. So I think the inn is out this way. And EJ, I don't think she is in the chat right now, but she does love a yeet cat, so... Ooh, what do we got here? We're going to try to yeet our way back to an inn. All right, good stuff there. Ancient text. That's one of the items that is found in that is added by spell research. I don't know that this character will. Oof. Yeah. Okay. This is a huge Forsworn encampment. This is where Skyborn altar is. We got the Hagraven over here. Okay, we need to get out of here. Ooh, okay. All right, this looks promising. Skyhaven Temple. Sorry, that's where that is. So that is a huge Forsworn encampment that you encounter in the main quest, but Jagasta here is not looking for that battle right now. Solyan Sinkhole.
Whoa there! I don't know where you're going, but stay out of that mine. It isn't safe.
The mine isn't safe. Why? I don't think Jagasta is going to be very confrontational. He's probably... If he's going to be like a monk type, he's probably going to be quite polite. Gets along with people. May not be super quick to make friends, but he's also not going to be confrontational about things. The mine isn't safe. Why?
We tunneled into an old Nordic crypt.
Or how
The
about...
place is crawling with Draugr. We're not mining up any ore with those undead around, so I wouldn't go down there if I were you.
Okay, I'll stay out then.
Good to hear.
Khajiit, stay clear. How's my Khajiit voice? I haven't really practiced it. I've gotten the Dark Alchemist voice down pretty well, but I don't do Khajiit voices in my spare time. Alright, so this is a Sky Shard. This is a mod that was inspired from ESO. And I think from what I've heard people say about ESO and the Sky Shards is that Sky Shards are canon. So the way these work is they're just kind of scattered all throughout Tamriel. Well, for our purposes, Skyrim only, because we may venture to Falskar and we may venture to Bruma at some point. Excuse me. And this mod does not touch those provinces. But they are scattered throughout Skyrim. When you find them, it increments a counter, so that when you find 3 of them out in the wild, you get a perk point. And that's about the long and short of it. As far as I know, there's no official resource from the mod author anyway about where any of these are, so it really encourages you to explore the world, which I love mods that do that, because one of the best parts, if not the best part about Skyrim, in my opinion, the game as a whole, is the world and how rich it is with life and stories and things to explore off the beaten path. And this really enables that. It gives you a tangible in-game reward and incentive to go out and blaze your own trail out in the wild, as you might be rewarded with perk points. So that's 1 out of the way. 2 more and we'll get a perk point. Alright, so Jocasta, where are we now? We're at some rinky-dink little mining encampment. We're safe for now, but we're very wet. We're probably not going to be allowed in this private residence, so we still do need to find an inn, somewhere that we can stay warm and dry and safe for the night. Hoster says, well, the Magna Gay, children of Magnus, supposedly have a connection with Sky Shards. Meridia is a Magna Gay as well. Yep. So the Magna Gay, children of Magnus. Yep. So they're sort of deity-like figures. at least for the mortals in this world. Meridia is one, along with some others that I can't think of off the top of my head. The Sky Shards did come from there. It does make sense that they would be in this world at this time, seeing as how ESO, the events of ESO played out before Skyrim, I believe. So yeah, it's lore friendly. Not vanilla, but kind of a nice little addition. We're in a better place than we were when we started, just because we are close to civilization and we have a bit of a beaten path to follow. I think that logic stands, and Jocasta thinks that okay, here we go. Our first fight. Alright, not bad for legendary, eh? So, we don't have a healing spell. We do know some restoration, but we do not have healing. Interesting, right? I am running Hunterborn, so we'll go ahead and get that started. And I think we did pick up a knife from that random little chest that we found. So we do get to use that for field dressing. I do think that Jocasta is a bit desperate to find shelter and safety right now. So I don't think that he's going to take the time to fully field dress an animal. But that I can see him doing that. As a Khajiit, he would have strong hunting instincts. So yeah, that's probably something that I'll pursue further. So we are not really in civilization here, but we do find a camp that got demolished by this wolf here. So, I'm sorry, my commentary is trailing off a little bit here because I have quite a few things going on in my head. First and foremost is TK dodge. I managed to time that pretty well there. I got a few successful dodges off. But it reminded me that I usually go through and I set this down to 5. And invincibility, I set that all the way up to the top because the max level of iframes or invincibility time that you get with a dodge is a 6/10 of a second, which is still pretty tight. I feel like if you can time a dodge within 6/10 of a second, or 3/5 of a second, that's pretty good, and you should be rewarded with a successful dodge. The other setting here that you can do with TK dodge is a step dodge. It's a little less flamboyant and a little less acrobatic than a roll dodge. Oops, I did not mean to equip that knife. I think for Hunterborn purposes, as long as you have a knife in your inventory, you're good for field dressing. So this is a roll dodge, pretty acrobatic, and we'll go ahead and set that step dodge on so we can see the difference here. I feel like the roll dodge works better with a Khajiit, a nimble, unarmed monk, agility, melee type character. Just fits him a little better. A little more yeety. So I'm going to set that back to the default roll dodge. Okay. And yeah, the other thing that was on my head on my mind, which is why I kind of trailed off on the commentary a little bit, was that so far, at least at level 1, I am playing at Legendary, so with an unarmed character, even, you know, the base level Wolf could be a threat at this difficulty level. My thought was that fight went pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with the settings the way they are right now. We did take 1 bite from the Wolf. It wasn't a lunging, or it wasn't like the power attack where they kind of sit there and they shake their head, which takes a little bit more life from you, but it did take a pretty decent chunk. I would say from, you know, what I remember, maybe 3 or 4 more of those bites would have done us in, which I feel pretty good with. Obviously, the arrow that we took to the head, the Forsworn arrow that we took a much bigger chunk, as I would expect. 1 more shot from that would have killed us. That took a pretty good 80%, I think. There was something else that was on my head, but on my mind, but I don't remember what that was. So, we do have a demolished campsite here that we could use for our own purposes. It would provide some rudimentary shelter with the tent here. We've killed the wolf, so the immediate threat is gone, but I think Jagasta would be a bit wary at this point of setting up camp in the wilderness after he just got beset by Forsworn. So I think if I were Jagasta, and I am Jagasta, or Jagasta, I would look for a more secure location. In the form of an inn and maybe a little bit more protected civilization, a little more populated area. And here we have Old Roldan. How far was I off? Not far at all. Okay, so here we are. We are safe, we are secure, we are warm.
Come on in. You got warm food, warm drinks, and warm beds.
And it sounds like we have a bar fight. Okay, so this is added by Immersive World Encounters, which we happened upon in the MCM list there. One of my favorite newer mods that I've added more recently. This adds a lot of life to the world, which in turn sort of encourages you, as I was saying about the sky shards, to spend some time in the world, not fast travel, not just blow by things. It creates more interesting events, both more interesting and more interesting events that happen throughout the world. Now, this bard is either added by, again, Immersive World events, or it is added by interesting NPCs. Yeah, he challenged the orc. Didn't go so well. Let's talk to her. If she has a custom voice, then it's interesting NPCs. If she doesn't, then it's Immersive World Encounters.
Tidings, Sarah.
Ah, okay, so this is an interesting NPC.
A traveling bard on her way to Markarth. If you would like to hear a song, do not hesitate to make a request. I require no coin or patronage for my services. All I ask in return is the following favor. Should my verse please you, then I would be most gracious if you spread word of my song to the citizens of the Reach.
Ah, play for Khajiit. If Khajiit likes, Khajiit will spread word. Yeah, that fits what I just said, actually.
It's good to see that there are those in Skyrim who still speak with grace and live with honor.
Okay then. Well, I would like to make a request. Let's see what you got.
As you wish. What would you like me to play?
Okay, so it looks like you have some options to actually play with her if you are a bard character. Great. Let's do Ragnar the Red. I want to hear her rendition of it. I think this is going to be a custom recording of the same song, so we can, if we play something familiar, we can actually get a better appreciation for this mod and their recording and this character in turn. Yeah, Bayo, this is a great mod. It's one of my favorite mods of all time. Interesting NPCs. It adds a ton to the game. It's not just NPCs. It adds epic storylines, super fleshed out followers, lots of new dialogue, more added areas to the world, lots of different things. It's a little wonky. It can be a little buggy, but it's worth it.
As you wish. What would
But
you
yeah,
like?
let's hear how she.
Excellent request. A bloody song, but one the locals favor.
See how she sounds here.
Oh, there once was a hero named Ragnar the Red, who came riding to Whiterun from Ulrikstead. And the braggart did swagger and brandish his blade, as he told of bold battles and gold he had made. But then he went quiet, did Ragnar the Red, when he met the shield maiden Matilda, who said, "Oh, you talk and you lie and you drink all our mead. Now I think it's high time you lay down and bleed." And so then came clashing and slashing of steel, as the brave lass Matilda charged in full of zeal. And the braggart named Ragnar was boastful no more, when his ugly red head rolled around on the floor.
Not bad. A lot better than that irritating bard in Dawnstar, the innkeeper's daughter. Let's see. Balefish says world encounters, but interesting PC. Yeah, interesting PC is great. The Wind, I am running the original version. I know that they recently uploaded one to the Nexus. I'm not sure if they did any bug fixes or updates to it. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But that might be something worth looking into on my next playthrough or load order. Yeah, nice voice, but the arrangement was a little odd. Yeah, it's definitely different. Seeing as how this was a passion project, recorded by lots of different people, I would say she did a great job. Whoever the original artist was that did the music and everything. It fits in really well with the world, too. I think that the loot sounds coming from this mod are actually probably better than the loot sounds coming from the base game, in my opinion. Alright, so I think we are very thirsty, very tired, and very hungry. Very thirsty for sure, moderately hungry and moderately tired. So let's get the severe thirst out of the way.
Yes.
I am running immersive wenches.
Of course.
I am not a wench lover by nature, I would say. I'm not that kind of guy. Don't get me wrong, I like wenches as much as the next guy, but I'm not one that would go to seek them out to put them into my game. This is part of the Tuco guide, the original modding guide that I used for the visual setup and things like that. But I decided to keep it because it does add more life to the world, along with immersive patrols. Oh, good night, Bayo. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, as I was saying, it does work well with immersive patrols and immersive world encounters to add life to the world. It also adds follower options. I play a lot on Legendary, and one of the best ways to balance the difficulty on that is to bring a follower along. Because the way difficulty scaling works in this game is that, say you set it to Legendary, it makes your character half as strong as in terms of damage output, but it makes NPCs twice as strong. That's not just enemy NPCs, that's all NPCs. So taking a follower along with you on Legendary difficulty, if you're having trouble with that difficulty, is a good piece of advice, I would say. Alright, so we got the water from the barmaid there. Let's go ahead and quench our thirst. We're good there. We're going to eat some of that delicious, decadent porker loaf. Some of that vegetable soup. Interesting choice for a Khajiit to have vegetable soup on him. Sounds like he has... I mean, I would assume that Khajiit are more carnivorous than omnivorous. Just based on the beast races. That's kind of how I feel about the Argonians as well. Especially considering their strong culture of hunting. So something tells me that Jagasta here has taken a liking to some more exotic dietary habits in terms of vegetables and things like that. Which is good, because even though Khajiit loves meat, Khajiit also needs fiber. Okay, so we also didn't get a good look at our moon puss here. And to be fair, it's hard for me to say what a Khajiit monk should look like. It's easier with a human or even elven race. You kind of know the small tweaks and stuff that you would make to the look of a character because you're more familiar with people's faces and what certain expressions and facial features mean to you. It's harder to do with the beast races. Just because as a human in real life you don't have as much experience with the expressions that a cat person makes. It was preset 2, wasn't it? Yeah, it definitely was. Okay. So preset 2, let's take a look at his head. His eye color, I think face light might be, just say add a ponytail. Can we add a pony? Oh, it looks like he has a ponytail. I think he's a good-looking Khajiit. Yeah, me too. I don't know about the mustache. Would a martial artist Khajiit monk have a mustache? Maybe some sort of war paint? I really don't know what the war paint options are. I would like to take a look at eye color. Kind of partial to the bright green. Something piercing. That's a little bit much, I think. And yeah, I think face light might be playing tricks with us on these eyes here a little bit. I want something striking, but not something over the top, you know? Lots of good eye options. Ooh, I like that one. It's kind of a two-tone. Sort of a sunburst look. That's definitely striking, but not something very monkish. This invokes sort of how a real life tiger eye would look. And in Shaolin Kung Fu, the tiger plays a big part in a lot of their philosophy, the way they live their lives, and sort of how they model their martial arts moves. So I think I'm partial to this. I was going to go with like one of the lighter green colors because they're a little more striking, but I think this goes with the martial arts motif a little bit better. I like that. I'm not going to mess with the shapes and stuff too much. Let's see about that facial hair, though. Ooh, a bit of a lion's mane. Everywhere but up top. Let's see if we can give him a little more. Oh, mutton chops, huh? And the you know, I can relate at my age. I feel like some days I have more hair on my ears and on my face than I do on the top of my head, so it is not really the best look, but it's one that I can sympathize with for sure. Some of the jewelry is kind of a cool look for a Khajiit, but I don't know if it fits with the monk motif. Oh, there we go. Khajiit blow dries, yes. I'm of the opinion that the vanilla style hairs look better on a Khajiit. Ooh, that's kind of cool looking. Better than the hairs that are added by Apache. Hoster, yeah, I'm just reading your comment there. That's funny because I actually trained in Shaolin Kung Fu for a few years. So I know everything you're talking about. Yeah, so it's pretty much just straight up, straightforward strength, not a lot of deception, a lot of strong stances with wide bases, not very mobile, a lot of linear, straightforward strikes with not a whole lot of deception, a lot of fancy footwork or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know if I want to go that far because I am going to need the agility to go along with the light armor and the dodging and stuff like that that we're going to need for gameplay. So I don't see him staying in one place for too long and throwing a whole lot of power shots. But there is a lot of tiger symbolism in martial arts, so I think on a more general level it works. Gotta figure out this hair here. Is that the ponytail we were talking about? That kind of works. It's functional. It's realistic. This facial hair I don't know about. I do kind of like the mutton chops. It kind of it has like a mane look to it. He's got a bit of some binding there, a little bit of hair tie to manage the mane a little bit more, a little less wild. I don't know. I kind of like the mane. I think I'm going to go with it. Color is something that's hard to see in the current lighting situation, but I kind of like, just based on what I can see right now, that looks fairly good. We can always tweak it later if we have to. So now I got to remember how I spelled this guy's name. Okay, and I'm going to have to use the shift key, but I'm going to be aware of it. So my audio is going to cut out, but I will bring it right back, I promise. Okay, I think I spelled that right. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Anybody? Okay. I'm having some trouble getting my GeForce Experience overlay to work. Okay, great. In Skyrim, it works fine for other games, so usually I have a status indicator down in the bottom of my screen that tells me if my microphone is on or not. But I can pull up the overlay manually and take a look, so that'll be one way. Anyway, so yeah. I'm starting to think this might be a good place to kind of call it a stream. I think I've been on for close to 2 hours now. Started 116 minutes ago. I think we have a good start on the story and the roleplay here. Khajiit is very tired, but he's feeling safe. I think we're on a bit of a spiritual self-discovery quest. I have to come up with some reason why Jagasta is here in Skyrim initially, and I think we're good in terms of motivation, spiritually wise, and where we're going to go with the play style and things like that. But yeah, I want to do a little bit more research into Akatosh's relationship with the Khajiit. See if I can work off of that a little bit more. I think the Forsworn is a great driver to get Jagasta to do some stuff, to explore some things. I think that he finds them fascinating and dangerous, which feeds his curiosity even more. And I like the thought of them being a bit of a spiritual and overarching rival for him in the future. The way that they use their old magic, it's kind of a twisted take on manipulating nature for their own ends. And as a monk martial artist, Khajiit, that might rub him the wrong way once he actually figures out what's going on there. So that's one avenue to take. His martial arts journey is another thing to explore, and his spirituality. But yeah, I got some thinking to do on this, and this is actually exciting for me because I love having a challenge to think about. Unbound Season 1, and which season was it? The Ghosts of Yore. I don't remember what season number that was, but taking a new character and trying to fit him in to something is an endlessly entertaining thought exercise for me. Season 2. Yeah, so I'm excited to have some of this stuff to think about outside of the game as well. So yeah, I think this is a good place to call it. We're safe, we're dry, our bellies are full, and we've been going for a couple hours now, and yeah. So thank you all for joining. How about adding that journal mod and having him record his thoughts during travels and present? The journal mod's not a bad idea. I might give that a shot. See if I can add that in without screwing anything up too bad. Not too bad. But I am talking the whole time, so I think that a journal would be of limited use compared to things that we already have. But yeah, I'll think about it. The Wind, thank you for stopping by. It was fun. I did have a lot of fun. Maiden Voyage. Strudel, you are quite welcome. Thank you for joining. Magus, you are welcome so much for this. Thank you so much for dropping by. And I will see you next time. Bye.